Beware of thieves on airplane. Not just one, but now there are groups of gangs on airplane targeting passengers. And this has become a very serious issue lately. I have all the good intelligence and the story to share with you today. So recently, a passenger shared some footage on her flight from Hong Kong to Incheon, South Korea. So from the footage, looks like she's on board an Incheon Airlines A330 flight in business class. It was an overnight flight, the cabin was all dark. Now there are thieves taking advantage of situation when passengers are falling asleep. So you can see that the suspect is sitting in the last row in the business class wearing a baseball cap and also wearing sunglasses. And he looked around and finally stood up. He's checking around the environment, see if everyone's falling asleep and there's no cabin crew walking around. So he's looking and looking by standing up. And I think primarily he's checking the passenger in front of him. Finally, he's on the move. He went ahead to the overhead bin above the passenger and he opened the bin and took a briefcase out. So when he took the briefcase out, he closed the bin and then he opened the next bin and tried to put the briefcase in. So he tried to shuffle the briefcase into the next bin and hide it with his belonging. But at the same time, he failed. Because he closed the bin with such a noise, he probably has woken up the passenger in front of him. So what he did was he quickly sat down and he put the briefcase down as well. Then he pretend nothing happens. At this point, I believe he's already exposed. So after some time, he stood up again. He opened up both bins. Quickly, he put the briefcase back to the original bin, and then he took his belonging out from the second bin, pretending he's sorting out things, pretending nothing happens, and sat down very quietly. So when this clip was shown on social media, there was a lot of questions raised. Why this person was not reported to the cabin crew or to the police on arrival? The person who shared the footage was secretly filming along the way, said she had no clear evidence of this guy taking out the briefcase and taking it with him. So all this guy was being very smart and cunning because he had just putting the briefcase down and later he just put it back to the bin. He didn't really take anything out, so there was no clear evidence. At the same time, after landing at Incheon, the person who took the video was actually followed by the gang. She was so worried about getting retaliation from the gang, she put a video out, but she kept quiet. So when I discovered this video, I took it to my Instagram. I didn't realize it became such a hit because now it has almost 20,000 shares and forwards by all the followers, and that shows the crime is real and there are lots of victims from these hidden crimes. And finally, it's time to speak up. So out of Instagram, I've seen comments, people saying, this happened to me on Air France, CDG to Hong Kong in business class. The flight attendant were making rounds at night, they saw it, the guy got arrested at arrival and got blacklisted. Another viewer's comments say, absolutely Sam, I found someone going through my bag in business class on a KLM flight last year. I always lock my bag now before I sleep. Another comment says, my dad works in an airline. He said he receives about 2 cases of stealing per week. And another comment said, I once experienced passenger trying to grab a wallet from the bag under his seats of a passenger sitting behind. He took the wallet but was confronted by the crew. We usually turn our travel mode as we board and relax our senses, but you never know who is lurking around. Here's another comment said, it happened to me on a cafe flight from Dubai to Hong Kong. It was a red-eye flight and I had my eye mask on sleeping. So out of all the Instagram comments and intelligence I've gathered around the aviation industry, I've identified some hot routes that these gangs are traveling and targeting. Mainly, they're targeting flights in and out of Hong Kong and China. So it could be a flight from Hong Kong to Dubai, or Dubai to Hong Kong to Europe, or Europe to Hong Kong. Dubai, Middle East flight has been a special target because they knew there are lots of rich people carrying a lot of jewelry, expensive watches and cash and so on. But there are also indications now the crime has also moving on to flights in and out of Bangkok. So this really could happen anywhere, everywhere. It could also happen on any part of your journey at an airport, in an airport lounge. So you really have to now take some measures to watch out your expensive belongings. So now let me tell you how this crime works in the background. It is much bigger and much more sophisticated than you and me have ever thought. It is carried out by not just one person, it's carried out by the whole team of coordination, from luxury goods sales to airport staff, ground staff, airport cleaners, and even more people. For example, I bought an expensive Rolex watch. The luxury goods salesperson could make friends with me and found out my travel. Say I'm going from Hong Kong to Amsterdam one day, and then they will pass on my information to some internal gangsters works in an airline that found out exactly the flights I'm on, the dates I'm travel. When they identified it, that if I carry enough luxury goods that is worth the action and worth to follow me, these gangs will book on a flexible tickets, go on my flight, and they will track my flights. If I cancel my flights, they will also cancel their flights and do a no-show. So they kind of having people giving them intelligence when I'm traveling. So let's say if my expensive watch became the target, they followed me on the flight. And then during the flight, they would have people also spread out, sitting in different cabins. Some would sit in business class, some would sit in economy. So that's easy for them to passing the stolen stuff. They are also having people helping them on the ground. When the plane arrives, it could be airport cleaners, because sometimes they wouldn't necessary to take the stolen goods to carry themselves because they will get caught by the police. So what they would do is they will hide inside the toilet compartments, because there are lots of secret compartments inside the toilets, inside the trash bins, behind the sink, in the mirror. So they will hide this. And the airport cleaner in their gangs will come on board to retrieve the item. That's how they get away with it. The next question is, if the crime's getting so serious now, what are the airlines going to do to protect passengers, right? So obviously airlines are also getting intelligence from various sources. And they are telling the cabin crew to make more rounds if there are some target passengers on board on their list that they will look out for. If you got things stolen that you are sure that is went missing during the flight, you should tell the cabin crew immediately, because they can report to the police. They will send message to the landing station ahead of time, informing the police waiting at the plane. And obviously, every country has its own jurisdiction and prosecution standards. For example, Hong Kong will have the police coming on board. They will stand around every 5 rows. They will have one police standing on each aisle, and they will go through each passenger's belonging to check where the missing item is. It might be causing about 1 or 2 hour delay after landing before everyone get discharged. So some airline, like Qatar Airways, has recently came up an idea to install a safety box with PIN number in their business class, in their new generation Q suite. There was also a lot of people are thinking whether we need to have CCTV installed on an airplane. That remains a debatable question. So now let me share with you my own experience. I lost wallets recently on a Saudi A330 flight from Dubai to Riyadh. The seats were pretty narrow in the business class. I took my wallet out and I put it in the storage box. And then when the plane landed in Riyadh, I completely forgot I have a wallet in the storage box. I didn't check. It was my fault. And I left the airplane. And not until the next morning, I received some weird SMS saying I spent 100 Saudi Riyal in a gas station here and there. I realized my wallets went missing. So I started calling my credit card company. I started calling my bank to suspend all the cards. 2 days later, I was told my wallet was found in the lost and found at Riyadh airport. So I went to collect. All my cash was there and all my credit card was there. Unfortunately, one bank card was lost, and somebody has clearly took it to several places. The maximum they could spend without knowing my PIN number was 100 Saudi Riyal, which is about $25. So I clearly learned a lesson. Keep all the valuables on you, never leave them in your seats or in the storage or overhead bins. I would recommend lock your bags if you have really valuable stuff, and don't use the default password, which is usually 000, because everybody would know it. And also carry the watch, carry cash inside you, and try not to leave it in these lockers because the thieves could reach it when you are sleeping. You wouldn't know what happens, right? But most importantly, do speak up when you saw something strange. Never leave a chance to those criminals. When I heard about the recent incidents, immediately I felt I have to do some research and I have to do everything in my power to let all the fellow passengers know this is getting a very serious issue. And I want to expose all the thieves and gangs. And it's never a shame to be a victim out of this. Please do speak up if you have lost something. Flying should be a relaxing experience as we all love. It shouldn't be worry about things and stressing things out. I would love to hear from you today. Have you heard about any recent incidents related to theft on board? I would love to hear more about it. Thanks for watching today.